Who are you? Where does your sense of self come from? We're going to answer these questions and more today. In The Illusion of Consciousness by the BBC, host Max Tobin attempts to tackle one of humanity's most basic yet confounding questions.
Who are you?
Some of the questions they pose and the answers they assume reveal deep-seated errors embedded so thoroughly in the fabric of science that they're often overlooked entirely. What is consciousness? And who or what is the self? Let's dive in. They begin with a simple yet profound question.
Who are you?
Let's play, shall we? I'm Cindy.
Okay, but those are just words. Who are you really? Where does your sense of self come from?
Max asks. I guess my brain, responds someone. Another chimes in.
I see through my eyes, so I think I'm in my head.
But where inside your brain do you think you are? Where exactly inside of you are you?
Are you really inside of yourself? Can that even be possible? Maybe only in a dream. In fact, that's exactly what happens when you sleep. At night, the you and the world you experience appears inside of you. Humanity is dreaming, and nothing will make sense until we wake up. Max continues.
We all seem to know who we are on the outside, but it's often difficult to tell who we are on the inside.
Which begs the question, is there an outside you and an inside you? What are we really talking about here? For most people, who you are inside means the mind, the nearly constant and lifelong stream of thoughts, memories, fears, hopes, and stories of me. This mental self functions much like a computer. It has stored memories like a hard drive. It has an active processing unit like RAM running the program of me virtually. And just like a computer, it powers down in deep sleep, gone, nowhere to be found. Yet you remain. You see, the thinking mind isn't you, because when it stops, you don't. And when that happens, that's a moment when you can see what's really going on here. When the mind is absent, yet you are present, you know that you're not it. I remember being as confused as these people when I first heard the question and couldn't answer, knowing or realizing full well that my usual answer, or what I thought I was inadmissible. You know, my name, my job, my status as a person in the world, like a daughter, a friend, none of that was admissible. I realized and admitted to myself that I don't know. I don't know the answer to this question, and it dumbfounded me how I could not know after decades of living. And that sparked an identity crisis deep within. Max tries another angle.
If you were to ask me, I might say I am someone who occupies my physical body, a constant inner me that began with my birth and will end with my death. That's me.
But, ever the scientist, he questions himself.
But what if I'm wrong?
So he explores some alternatives.
What if you are simply an illusion?
He asks. That would be unpleasant, someone replies. Unpleasant? To whom? If you're an illusion, if you don't exist, then who exactly is experiencing unpleasantness? The very fact that you perceive something as unpleasant proves that you exist. I can see why some people give up this quest. But trust me, it's worth it. Before we go any further, we need to clarify something. Science has a problem with the word consciousness. Sometimes they seem to mean your sense of self. Other times they mean thoughts or the thinking mind itself. You'll see the inconsistency as we go. Max muses.
What if you're an entirely different person from one moment to the next?
Now, what does he mean by person?
We know that our personalities change over time.
Now, that's not scientific knowledge. It's simply everyone's experience. As the scientist of yourself, you are aware of this right now. It's true to your experience that your personality changes over time. You had a different personality when you were 19 than you have right now. And you're aware of that, right? So then a personality is not a thing. It's not an entity. And if it changed, then it's not you who knows that it changed. By definition, a personality is merely a collection, whatever that is, of characteristics, whatever they are, and qualities, whatever they are. These are vague concepts with no inherent or lasting reality, and often they're just thoughts about thoughts. Once upon a time, we invented the word and concept of personality. We had no better explanation for who we are, so we believed in it as us. Now we live, walk, and talk as if we are this conceptual person with all the baggage that comes with it. But let's test that belief. Has who you are changed simply because your thoughts, beliefs, or way of speaking changed? Has your essential you-ness, yourself, changed? Max continues.
So perhaps it's our memories that give us a coherent sense of self.
Another backwards error. It's the other way around. It's not your memories that give you a sense of a coherent self. Yourself is the coherent one who knows there are memories that change. The illusion is not that you don't exist and you only think you do. The illusion is not that you don't have self. The illusion is of a separate self. The illusion of a separate self arises from mistaking different memories as proof of a different and separate self. Also, we use different thoughts as proof that we are a different self. But why must this self be a different and separate one? That's rhetorical, of course. It doesn't. As Ramana Maharshi said, the mind is the seat of all illusion, including that of the false separate self-identity. Your true existence, your real self, is not in the mind, and it's not made of the mind, which we think is inside the body, which we think is inside the world. Talk about having it inside out and backwards. Scientists are also seeing and working through the lens of that separate mental me, but don't know it. Even so, they doubted the existence of the separate self and tried to find it. Not finding it, they believe a separate self illusion exists, and now try to find that. Never questioning that assumption and its false implication, which would mean that there is no self at all, failure is inevitable. Because they're looking from the wrong perspective and they're asking the wrong question. This is the key. Awareness and the conscious thinking mind, which science calls consciousness, are not the same thing. You can be aware of the conscious thinking mind, so it can't be you. Science takes the thinking mind to be consciousness, and it's not. It's just a machine, not unlike AI, which has the capacity for language, but which will never be conscious as in self-conscious because it has no awareness. Awareness is primary, not conscious thinking. Every scientist of the self can be aware of the thinking mind. And so you can be aware that it's not you, and that's a breakthrough. So the biggest error that science has made is confusing the thinking mind for yourself. Now, a machine that has the capacity to process language doesn't mean it is sentient or aware. The mind that you have, that anybody has, is not sentient or aware. You're aware of it. And so it will never be aware. The only question is, are you aware? Are you aware of the thinking mind? Because Awareness is primary. Conscious thinking, which are thoughts that you're consciously aware of if you're paying attention, is secondary. If you're not paying attention and you're not aware of the difference between yourself and the thinking mind, then we say you're dreaming. You're unconsciously dreaming. And so to be consciously awake is to be aware of thoughts, that they are arising, that they are happening. And to be self-realized is to know they are not what you are, and to know what the self actually is. At the root of the confusion is this: science mistakes consciousness, the mind's ability to think, which we are aware of, for the self itself. And in doing so, it overlooks awareness altogether. You know, I love science, although the question of consciousness leaves its realm. Here's the fundamental problem with science. Science relies on measurement, but measurement requires a subject to do the measuring and an object to be measured. So a separate observer and a separate thing being observed. So science is embedded in duality. It works only within the world of the senses, which are also not separate, but believed to be separate by everybody. And beyond the world of the senses, science hits a barrier, because awareness cannot be measured. Everything measurable arises within it. Even the tools used to measure arise within it. If awareness could be measured, it would have to exist inside something greater. But there is nothing greater. Awareness is the highest. There's nothing before it. There's nothing beyond it. It knows all, and nothing knows it, except itself. To know it is to know it as yourself. And that is the collapse of duality. And this is to know yourself. This is self-knowledge. Exploring this question and the true nature of yourself can bring insight into all the errors humanity has made. Errors that drive us to dream the mind and its separations as if it's real, true, others, and you. Seeing these errors is precisely what needs to be seen in order to wake up and stop harming yourself. After all, where did you get the idea that you are a separate person in the first place? More on that in my new upcoming podcast, The True Self Show. P.S. Let what comes, come. Let what goes, go. Find out what remains. Ramana Maharshi.